December of 2019, and the girls of WildChild are rushing south to Barbados to get to Elena's U.S. visa appointment. They're still working on finishing the 110 nautical mile jump from Guadeloupe to Martinique, but they got their ass handed to them in the second gap last night.
I realized we didn't film last night, and last night was Elena's worst sail ever, and for me it was right up there. We got hit by, we were making that crossing between Dominica and Martinique, and it was like 3-meter plus waves, and there were storms, so we were sailing like we're fine, 20 knots, 20 knots, 20 knots. We got hit by a severe storm, like sustained 33, gusting to 38, just hammered us with severe rain. There's a sailboat that was trailing beside us, had to fall off, a boat called Mayday. It was like hairy, sporty shit. So, I was at the helm. We planned it so that Elena does the easy lee shore sailing, and I do all the rougher sailing. It was awful. It was horrible sailing. Neither one of us has slept. We're exhausted. We're off the coast of Martinique now, so we're in calm, protected waters, but we still got, the sun is rising. We still got storms gusting off the island. We got a cruise ship pinning us in over there. We're about 15 miles from Fort de France, which is the big Anchorage in Martinique. This has been horrible. This is sucky sail.
If you're on YouTube right now looking at videos about sailing, believe me when I tell you that YouTube lies to you. The sailing life is not a fun and easy life. There are rewards, but there are also costs. It can be very hard, and it can wear you down. I have been through so much on the ocean that I'm beginning to feel old and tired.
I don't know if this is going to shock you, but notice that I'm not in my captain's uniform. When that first severe storm hit us last night, the temperature dropped so severely. So although the wind was 30, 35, the rain was severe, I got soaking wet, and the temperature dropped. I actually started to get hypothermic. I was shivering uncontrollably. So I had Elena bring me my fowlies. I got some the fowlies you haven't seen me wear since the North Atlantic, but when you're soaking wet in severe winds and sleep deprived and high adrenaline, I got really cold. I froze. So it's just a sign of how bad it was.
It is storm after storm coming over the mountains the whole way in.
You know what? Yeah, it has to go up a little bit. Yeah, it does. Sorry. No, okay, just keep it locked. I'll keep our wind angle off. Maybe we're past the worst of it. We're down to 22 knots. 30 over 7 for a while, but now we're down to 22 over 6.8. Wind angle's at 60. I'd rather bleed off the energy flopping sails than get too tight to it. 23 over 24, 25 over 7. Yeah, I saw this one building over the mountains. It's a tall one. We did this all night long. Probably every hour or two. We just got hammered in the dark by one of these nasty storms coming up. Usually they were stronger, sustaining at 30 or 35. This one only sustained at 30 for a minute, and now it's down to 22 to 25. So it's not so bad. Somehow the storms are easier in the daytime when you can see them. Still 22 over 7.3, and we are reefed like crazy, and we're still doing 7. WildChild is such a good girl.
Storm after storm comes over the mountain and hammers us. Slowly we're making our way around to the leeward side in Fort de France, the main anchorage in Martinique. We just gotta drop the hook soon.
Welcome to Martinique. There's the anchorage that we gotta get to in front of the cruise ships. We're two very tired sailor girls. It's 10:45 in the morning on Wednesday. We're tired. We're only like half a mile from the anchorage. We're just gonna drop the hook and go to bed. That was probably one of the worst night sails ever. Like, those storms were just brutal. It was horrible.
And you know when you've had a rough sail, when you come down below and you got stuff all over the floor. We've never had that before. We keep cans stacked behind there, and we were basically getting slammed around, and that was the high side, slammed around so bad all the cans forced their way out, pushed out the cushions and the lower cushion. We just have stuff everywhere. Well, the girls of WildChild made it safely to anchor in Martinique. It's a bad anchorage though. It's Fort de France. We're like parked right beside Fort de France, and it's rolly. It's kind of crowded. We're squeezed in between beside other boats. It's so like really steep and then goes like that. There's not a lot of ledge, but we need to sleep. We're tired. That was a horrible sail. Like, for the record, that sucked. This in front of us is literally the old fort, Fort de France in Martinique. I mean, you can see it. I don't know if you can see the roll. Waves never show up on camera, but it's kind of rolly. Apparently there's an excellent dinghy dock somewhere as an access to shore. We do have some wind protection from the fort itself, but the wind swing, we got problems. And for our neighbors in the back, we have some cruise ships. I mean, I think we got to be careful when complaining about a rolly anchorage. Ellen and I have been in real rolly anchorages, like 1 meter roll. All things considered, I mean, it's only a small roll right now, and we are on the wind protected side of this fort. I get the impression that the dinghy dock might be over there. Captain Lexi is sometimes mysteriously curious about random things that happen while you're sailing. You can see I'm beside the storm jib right now, and we ran it like for the last 24 hours or 30 hours in nasty weather, but we ran it on starboard side like port tack, so the green sheet was tight. The red sheet was loose and flopping in the wind, and it was basically a brand new rope. And I don't know if I can show this to you, but it is just kind of fried. Like, look at the beating it took. Like, there's the green rope compared to, let me see, there's the green rope compared to the red rope. You can see it's just from whipping in the wind. It is like loosened, the knots on it have sort of come loose. It's crazy. Like that kind of just damage from, like, you know, whipping in 30 and 40 knots of wind. You can see the two lines side by side used to look the same. The red one looks huge now because essentially it was trying to undo itself. The braids were coming loose as it flopped in the wind. That's interesting. I was down below on WildChild working on a blog for you when I heard a noise beside us. We're gonna call this the Evening Monkey Show. Some big boat pulled in, like probably a 50-foot boat with a family of 12 on it, pulled in beside us and tried to split the distance between our boat and that boat, which is way too close, and they were gonna swing into us. So sometimes as the captain you have to protect your boat. So I kind of hollered out like, hey, that's a bit close, you should back off. We refer to it as a monkey show because they clearly don't know what they're doing. They were still going forward when they dropped the anchor. They tried to anchor too close to other boats. When they backed down on it, they were going sideways to the wind instead of, they didn't come up into the wind. It's a nice looking schooner. But these people don't know what they're doing. And you never want monkeys to anchor behind you or near you, because you know they're going to smash into you and then they're going to say, whoops, sorry, not my fault. And they're not going to pay to fix your boat. At least with the monkey show behind us, if they put out enough chain, they should stay away. But you can see, like, that distance between the back of WildChild and them is probably only 50 feet. They're in 30 feet of water. To get a safe 7-to-1 scope, they have to put out I think they should put about 200 feet of chain, but let's say 150 to be safe. And they're 50 feet away from us. It means they're going to swing into us. But they're not even bearing down on it. They are actually over where they dropped their anchor right now. And they've only put out about 50 feet of chain in 30 feet of water. Maybe they're waiting for their boat to back off in the wind.